Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. Just trying to get ready for the 4th. We got some family in and going to hang out with them. So just doing some
I was just getting ready to say, when this drops, it will actually drop on July 4th. So hopefully everybody will
happy 4th of July, everybody.
Happy 4th of July. Yeah, celebrating and having a little day off. And I wondered if you guys are having family over. I thought you normally did.
Well, it's Press and the girls, and then probably Bailey and Ellie. But actually, I think they're going to go home Sunday. So no, it actually might be kind of a quiet 4th of July. That'd be kind of nice. You know, sometimes I like a holiday where there is no actual holiday celebration.
Totally.
Yeah, you actually do it a day or two before or something like that.
Yeah.
So
we go to Adam's mom's lake house every year. So we're going to head there for the weekend.
Oh, where is that?
It's in Columbus, Indiana. So
that's not far from you, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not, like 2.5 hours from Kentucky. She has a good, nice, pretty private lake there called Grandview, and we take the kids and go and hang out. They're actually going to stay longer, Adam and the kids. I've got to come back for some meetings, but yeah, it'll at least be a good couple of days.
Yeah, so fun. Well, you and I are working on the 5 pieces of trust from Dr. Henry Cloud's book, Trust. And you and I just got the opportunity to meet with him. If you missed our last week's episode, be sure and go back and listen to it, because we talked about the first key piece, which was being understood. People, you cannot build trust with anyone, or people cannot trust you until they feel like you understand them.
Yep.
Right. And so the second one is motive. So you want to kind of kick us off a little bit about motive?
Yes. And I just think the more that I keep digging into this, it is so helpful. So he said, so number 1 from last week was understanding. You have to have understanding. And then number 2 is motive. And he said the thing about motive is you need to ask the question, who is it about? Because to have trust, it should be mutually gratifying. It can never be all about one person. It has to be gratifying for both people mutually. He said that they can't only be worried about their side of the equation. So you're in motive, it's about the who is it about. I also liked, he said, not only do they understand me, but are they for me? And this part was really big. And he was saying, you know, someone's motive and you can trust them through their motive. If, say, they were in a room that you weren't in, but they were for you no matter what.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And I think that's very few people, don't you?
Very few, because then he even went on further to say they will even sacrifice to make sure that they are for you if they have a really pure, true motive. And I don't know that there's a lot of people, it's rare.
Yeah, it's very rare. I bet you could probably most people could count on one hand someone who's willing to go that far.
Yeah, he said, we don't even have to be there because we know that they've got our backs. They won't do anything that isn't good for you because they're for you, and their motive is truly just pure. Like their motive is pure.
Yeah, a few other things was the person cares more about you than they care about themselves, which I thought, man, that's even saying a lot right there also.
Yeah.
And with some people, it's always about, for the right people, it's always about the mission or the cause. They're always, their motive is always about that. They never think about their career or their position, or their outcome. They're thinking about other people's outcome. Yeah. Basically, they're in it for the good of others, is what he said.
Yeah. And, I was thinking, like, I can think of some people that right off the bat come to mind, just for me personally. And they gave some examples in the book. He said motive or intent is described in many ways, such as he's in it for the right reasons. Her motives are pure. She cares about me. He cares more about me than he cares about himself. He never thinks about himself. He always thinks of others. With her, it's always about the mission or the cause. They would do anything for their kids. They never think about their career position. They think about the company and employees first. And like, there's a list of those. And I do, one thing I think would be interesting to talk about is, I guess, how we look for that in people.
Well, I tell you, it's interesting. When I think of someone, I think of my husband's mother when she was alive. It's so interesting. She was so selfless. And what I noticed, honestly, is, and even her and other people that I could think of, it's actually, I think people that aren't that way are so about what they're going to get that they
Yeah.
actually probably don't get what they want to get. But people that are
Yeah.
selfless, and the people that I think of that are like this, actually get way more than anybody else. You know what I'm thinking? I mean, it's like everything goes their way. It's like it works out for them. And I think
Yeah.
that's when I think about motive, it's probably because their motives are pure. They don't, they're not
Yeah.
fighting for their piece of anything.
Yeah.
And they always seem to be more, I mean, like my husband's mother, if she had a candy bar, she'd give almost the whole thing away to everybody else. And if there wasn't any left, there just wasn't any left. You know what I mean? It's just, she just had that givingness about her that was, and everybody bent over backwards for her and loved her. I mean, so when I think about this, I kind of think about my days in counseling. It's nothing like a good counselor when you need one, right?
Yeah.
And I think about my days with a counselor when I would go in there about this problem that I had about this other person, or, I'm sure it was Jimmy. I'm just going to be honest, or something, early in the marriage. And she would always make me look back at myself and say, and pretty much in counseling, what they tell you is the way you get what you want is just don't worry about what you're going to get. Don't focus on what's wrong with the other person. Focus on what you can do about you. And I feel like it kind of feels the same way. If you could learn to always just have a pure motive and just let go of what you feel like you have to fight for or demand or do whatever, because that rarely ever works anyway. And it actually works better the other way.
Yeah. Yep. I totally agree. Yeah. I was trying to find in the book, when we heard Dr. Cloud, he talked a lot about how he had to have a knee replacement surgery, and he kind of walked through every step, like with the doctor doing this or the doctor doing that. And the motive one I thought was interesting, and I knew it was in here. I was trying to go back and find it. He said somehow he didn't feel understood. So he basically said he knew he needed a knee replacement. He was pushing through it. He went to the doctor's office, and he did his research, and he went to see the most highly recommended one. And he came in and he introduced himself, and then he said, "Lie down and let me feel that leg." He did a stability exam, bending it, pushing it. And then he said, after about 2 minutes, he said, "Yeah, I looked at your x-rays and I know what's going on. You need a total knee replacement. There's no other surgery that's going to help it. So that's what you need. Let me know if you want us to do it or not." And he began to walk out. And he said, Dr. Cloud said, "Wait a minute, I have a question. This is kind of a big deal. Don't you need to do an MRI or something? Can you really tell me after a couple of minutes and just feeling around that I need a totally new knee?" And he said, "Actually, I can. That's how we diagnose it, along with the pain picture that you have. I totally understand what your problem is, and a replacement is what you need. Anyone that tells you differently is just wrong. This is what I do." And then he left. And he said, ultimately, I don't think he ended up going with that doctor.
No, he did not.
Yeah, he didn't go with that doctor. But he said what happened was, he said he felt like a little cadaver that they used in med school, because he says he felt like that he was just another person coming in saying you needed a knee replacement to hit their quota or do whatever. And that led him to think he didn't have a pure or a true intent or motive. And so he said right off the bat, then he thought, okay, well, I can't trust him, or I don't trust him to do the total knee replacement. And I just thought the way that even sometimes we make people feel if we're moving fast, or whatever, is also a key indicator of just someone's perception of what our motive is or could be.
So true. And when I heard this part of the story, it reminded me that honestly, they kind of all go together. We're going to list them out as 5 different ones, but the truth is, I think a part of that was he didn't feel understood.
Yeah.
He didn't bother to think, oh my God, this is a big deal for this guy. He's going to wonder, why didn't we do an MRI? You know what I'm saying? Rather than, so I think he tied in motive and being understood into this same one. I think sometimes they probably not, you won't just have one of them and not trust somebody. You're going to have 2 or 3 of them of the 5 that we're going to talk about. And then I also think that there was another story in there where he talked about another doctor came in and he was so excited to get to do it because all the med students were going to get to watch. And so he felt
That's
like
right after this one. Yeah.
Was always just about what he could get out of it for the med students. Right. And so that doesn't feel very good either. But I think, and you and I have talked about this before, we have a friend that we know someone hypothetically, we know someone that we always feel like there's another motive, right? And you're always like trying to figure out what the motive is, or is there a motive? It does. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if that feels, but it
Well,
just,
immediately you don't trust them
yeah,
because it's like a game that you're always trying to figure out of like,
yeah,
what's the motive, you know,
yeah,
and that makes you not trust on anything really when
yeah.
that happens.
Yeah, so true. And I think, in our business, I think about in the real estate business, being able and willing to like walk away from a commission if it's the best thing for the other person. Those to
Yeah.
me are the pure motives that in our industry we have to have. And then also our people feeling like we're for them, always for them,
Yeah.
until we just absolutely have to throw in the towel and we can't anymore. But I really feel like the motive is you have to get to a place where you are not so out of scarcity that you feel like you have to fight for yours, or you have to stand your ground or do whatever. And I think a lot of that over time takes wisdom to be comfortable to say,
Yep.
I'm just going to let go because I think it's all going to work out. I'm not going to have to
Yeah.
fight or scramble for what I think should happen. Well, and I think the other thing that helps on motive is when you realize you can't really control that much. Dan said something the other day, it was so cool. He said, there's three things. No one's in charge. There are no rules. And what was the third one? No one's in charge. There are no rules. Oh my gosh. And what's the other one? The third one. It was so good. I'll think of it in a minute. No one's in charge. There are no rules. And nothing's fair.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of think
What
of
was
that
he
when I
saying
listen
that
to this.
in reference to?
It's kind of just something where I think it's trying to make us think bigger. Don't you
Yeah.
realize that sometimes a lot of our beliefs are around some hidden rules that are kind of there that we don't even know where they came from? And when I
Yes.
thought about this, I thought I'm a real rule follower. I mean,
Yeah.
I like Jimmy will say, hey, cut across this grass. I'm like, no, I'm not cutting across that grass. That says keep off the grass, or, something. And he'll just cut across the grass or whatever. But I really struggle because I'm a real rule follower. But when Dan said this, I thought, you know what? Where the frick did the rules actually come from? We got
Yeah.
to make sure that what are the motives of the rules? I mean, when
Yeah.
you think about the motives of when they came up with play, pay, and retire, work, go to school your first part of your life, work your next part of your life, and then only play the last little bit.
Yeah, learn
Those
work,
are rules that
play.
were made up by financial planners or somebody that wanted you to save your money.
Yeah, instead of having learn, work, play in every day or in
Yeah.
every week schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think motives are something that we have to just, number one, you have to have a lot of wisdom around that it's all going to be okay, that, there's things that you sweat and you worry about. That's why somebody was turning 40 the other day. I'm like, thank God you'll be so happy now that you're 40, because 20s and 30s just suck. You worry about everything. Everything's important. Everything matters. And then 40s, you're like, okay, it's not that big a deal. 40s and 50s.
Good. I'll be 40 in November. So that makes me feel better.
Yeah. So for me, motive meant, you have to really be okay with knowing that if you always look out for the other person and what their best outcome is, your motive will always be pure. The minute you change it to think about yourself or say the word I, then all of a sudden your motive is going to become impure.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally agree. These are all so good. I mean, when I think of people that I've had distrusting relationships with, every one of these is spot on. I mean, we didn't understand each other. There weren't great motives, it's and then actually we'll give a sneak to next week's, which is number 3, which is the ability. So we're going to talk about actually having the ability to do what you're supposed to do, to have the trust, or to earn the trust, or to fix it when it's broken. But that they're all just like crucial when it comes to trusting.
Well, and back on the motive one real quick, I'll finish with this last thing. I just saw something, it was from Julia Lachey's class. And I thought, this is so true. If we just always ask this about everything, I hope I took a picture. But it was, gosh, I think I took a picture. It was the kind of a checklist for you to check off. And, sometimes you ever take pictures and you know where the heck they go?
Yes, all the time.
You don't feel like they don't feel like they go to where you think they're going to go. I don't know.
All the time.
Well, I'll look that one up and we'll bring it in on one of our other ones, but it was so good. It was like kind of like a checklist. How will they perceive this? What, is this in the best interest of them? It was just really good. And I thought, man,
Yeah.
you could use that for so many things. If you just kind
Totally.
of had a mental checklist in your mind before you said certain things.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
swear I took a picture of that, but it was on a podcast, not a podcast, but a Zoom I was on yesterday. And you may have seen it because you were on our all leadership call where she was there.
I was on there. I was going to say, I feel like I know what you're talking about. And I wonder if I took a picture of it because I was trying to screenshot while we were watching her as well.
Yeah, well, we'll find it and I'll bring it into one of the other episodes because it ties all into trust. When people don't trust, everything's going to fall apart. Your deals are going to fall apart. Your marriages are going to fall apart. Your friendships are going to fall apart. All of those things. So, motive is a great one this week. And next week, we're going to talk about ability.
That's right. Yep.
Awesome. So Dana, I'll see you for number 3 important key part from Dr. Henry Cloud's book, Trust. Remember, if you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and do that right now. And the greatest compliment you can give Dana and I is a 5-star review. And even better than that, what we'd love is for you to pass this podcast along to anyone that you think would benefit from these conversations. And if you have a question, a challenge, or an opportunity you'd like for us to discuss, reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. Thanks again. And Dana,
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.